Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice, at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
And by airs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at airs.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Become a global player in your field.
Cross Culture to Go provides virtual support for your global business and career success.
We can help you thrive in 140 plus countries and markets.
On the web at crossculturetogo.com.
Hi, it's Ed Cohen, your broadcast host of Global TV Talk Show, a service of globalbusinessnews.net. Website's been around since '03. Google Analytics has measured in their wily ways. They've measured a little over 1.2 million audience page views on globalbusinessnews.net from over 100 countries. 70% US, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, about 20% in Europe, 9% approximately in Asia Pacific, although that number is going to change upward in the next tabulation, and about 1% in Middle East Africa, mainly Dubai, Tel Aviv, Cairo, and South Africa. Global TV Talk Show has been around since our live meeting business crashed and burned as a result of COVID on or about March 1, 2020. And since April 2020 through June 6, Google Analytics has measured 105,000 audience page views on Global TV Talk Show. So we thank you for tuning in today. Our special guest today is in Dusseldorf, Germany, near the Dutch and Belgium borders. And this is Mr. Chris Litherland. Welcome.
Welcome, Ed. Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Really, really nice. And the way you were describing the visitors to your website, I thought you were kind of going through my DNA, kind of the blended kind of mix of global citizens that we have today. But there's some impressive numbers there.
Well, I'm really grateful. You know, it's like I'm feeling the weight of the responsibility that we have to upgrade our stuff. And so thank you for being on the show.
It's a pleasure.
So you and I first met, I think it wasn't last century, but it was close to that. And you've been involved in some of our live meetings in Switzerland, Germany, I think even England as well, if I remember.
Yeah, we
so,
did
yeah.
New York and Washington as well. I think if
Yeah,
you remember
right.
that, we shared a train journey from kind of New York down to DC, which was really quite fascinating for me. So yeah.
Yeah, terrible train tracks. The train itself is modern and comfortable, but the tracks are not. So maybe with the infrastructure spending, we'll get new tracks. Who knows? But but the trains in Germany are terrific, and also in Switzerland and France. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
I prided on it. Yeah. So yeah,
it's
the UK
money
is
well
a slightly
spent.
different story, but we won't talk about that given the way things are going.
So let
Yeah.
me ask you about your job these days as COVID winds down, hopefully, and things open up. And what do you think? Will it be different from what you were doing a year and a half ago?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you, I've seen, lots of the face-to-face kind of events and some of the group, the conferences and trainings and workshops that I've been running as an independent consultant have really crashed and burned, or they've moved to a kind of online delivery. And some of those organizations have obviously been under cost pressures, so they've really looked at moving some of the delivery internally rather than externally. So it's kind of been troublesome, but I can see light at the end of the tunnel. My coaching and mentoring and business advisory work has really picked up, and even during the pandemic. I think as individuals have kind of seen, it's been a time to, reflect and a time to learn. So they kind of reached out to coaches and mentors through the referral and through their networks, and that's worked exceptionally well. So kind of going forward, I'm hoping more online things are going to happen, some more face-to-face things, conferences, presentations, working with, teams inside organizations will pick up again.
Yeah. Okay, so Mariposa Consulting does what?
Yeah, so we're kind of into a kind of a federated approach where we've got three legs essentially. One is the organization effectiveness consulting kind of part, then executive coaching and mentoring and business advisory, where we're dealing with and working with challenges that individual executives or high flying talent have, navigating their world, navigating their lives. And then the third part is kind of my speaking, conferencing, thought leadership piece. So I've got those kind of three legs, focused around business, focused around HR, but predominantly, how organizations work and effective. And there's no set model. It's unique to every organization, unique to every individual. So it is consultatively led in the approach we take with solution orientation.
So for a number of years, you were involved in the Stevie Awards. Are you still doing that?
Yeah, I'm still kind of engaged with the Stevie Awards. I had a great pleasure of being involved with them for many, many years, as well as chairing some of the panel committees, the judging committees in different areas, both on the business awards side and on the HR excellence side, and women in business awards side as well. So it's been really great to get insight into what's going on in the world and who's putting up recommendations for best practice. So it's been really quite insightful to see the different levels of organizations, and not just the big names, the well-known names, but others as well. And it's been really nice to see how they benefited from the practices and the experimentation that they've done within their business, within their market. And it's great to be able to be, given the opportunity to give back some praise and recognition to those kind of organizations.
Well, thank you for that explanation. So are the Stevies part of CIPD, or is that different?
No, that's completely different. So with the CIPD, that's the professional body in the UK. And I've been doing some work with them, mentoring some of their members. And obviously, I'm a chartered fellow of the CIPD, as well as a member of SHIRM in North America. So, but predominantly been working on mentoring kind of the young HR talent and the aspiring HR leaders within predominantly global organizations based out of the UK.
So you and I first met when you were a corporate HR leader involved with tech companies, and you had a lot to do with India.
Yeah. I mean, we in the tech world, India has been a great place to position technology-based research and development, as well as certain operations. It's not been a great place for selling because of the price, but it's been a great place in terms of accessing talent, particularly in research and development, as I say, and in some supply chain kind of areas. And the tech companies I've worked for have been very leading edge in terms of having strong identity, strong cultures, and they wanted to take that across the globe, including India, including Middle East and Africa, and obviously Asia Pacific, as well as being home based within either North America or Japan. Those have been the two kind of corporate headquarter locations for the companies I've worked for.
So the companies that you're doing business with now, and I don't want to know any secrets or anything, but just some general conversation, based where you are in Central Europe, you could ordinarily be anywhere within the EU pretty quick. And there's like a gold mine full of businesses there. So are you before COVID, were you finding it advantageous to be a Brit living in that market in Dusseldorf area?
I can see how it can be. My business model, Ed, was to really target kind of very successful individuals within my network and to help those people become more successful or help them with their leadership team development needs. Primarily in English, and that takes me outside of kind of the core base of kind of Germany or the German-speaking countries. I mean, I have done some work within the German-speaking kind of countries, but it's typically taken me on a global kind of footing. And of course, we've used technology. We've been using, I probably show my age now, Ed, but I remember back in my Fujitsu days of using, video conferencing, which was big screen stuff and video links over, satellite links, which is not too dissimilar from today, but it's voice over IP these days. And, that's 15, 20, 25 years ago of, trying that kind of technology out. So I'm used to being able to kind of work through the visual medium. So I've been able to access markets that I never thought were there, down into Africa, down into the Middle East, and working with clients, Asia Pacific, and particularly Australia. I have a number of coaching clients who are based down there. And it's great, it just means I have to get up early in the morning or in the middle of the night, but, I can do it anywhere. And I've always been mobile and working, from a home office base as well as, on a mobile footing. We've had many calls, when I've been in an airport or you've been in an airport or both. Yeah. So,
Right. It's always good to get together at the bar.
Yeah, and I remember some nice times in the bar, particularly, in those conference days.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a timely announcement.
Hi, I'm Sergei Gorbatov.
I'm Angela Lane.
Together we're researchers, writers and practitioners in the field of human resources.
And we've also been multi-country, multi-assignment career expats.
We owe our professional development and growth to a very large extent to the international assignment opportunities that we have had.
But in a world where distributed work may become the norm, we also want to understand what will happen to the nature, duration, and purpose of international assignments.
Together with our colleague, Julian Dalzell from the University of South Carolina, we're undertaking a study on the future of expatriation.
And we'd value your contribution. You can participate in this important study by completing a simple 10-minute questionnaire.
Access the questionnaire by typing in your browser tinyurl.com/expert study. That's tinyurl.com/expert study. You can also find the link here on Ed's website next to this video.
Thank you for joining us in this study. In return for your contribution, we'll provide you with a copy of our research.
And of course, you'll be invited to an exclusive webinar hosted by Ed, where we will share our findings right here on Global Business News.
And so please go to tinyurl.com/expat study. Take the survey so that we can better understand the future of expatriation.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
You know, I've been invited to come into Europe and do a meeting in London and then another one in Switzerland. But I'm thinking next year, not this year.
Yeah.
And I just personally don't want to get on a plane. So,
Yeah, there's that to it as well. But it's also the openness that people will have as we come out of the pandemic. You know, and are they going to be receptive to go into these kind of events? So that's always a kind of worry. But some will be. I mean, some were chomping at the bit to go on holiday,
right.
to travel, to get back into, you know, the way things were. But I think others are going to be continuing to be kind of cautious. You know, you always get, you know, 3 kind of different groups of folks responding to these things.
Yeah. So there's 2 mobility industry events, one in Orlando and one in Chicago, both in late October. So they're throwing it open. It'll be hybrid, not my events, but somebody else's. And so I'm slated to go to those, but I'm still not sure. And then I was thinking of putting on a meeting based here in San Diego, or up in LA, which is 100 miles north, and do a hybrid. In other words, have some people in the room, but have the screen, of course, and invite people. We've been fortunate, excuse me, to be able to reach out to Bangalore and Mumbai and Delhi and Sri Lanka, as well as Hong Kong and Taiwan, and Shanghai, and otherwise, I would never go there and go to a meeting, and those people wouldn't come to my meetings for the time, the money, the travel, but here we are. And
Yeah.
so I think this medium is here to stay and will only get better.
Yeah.
And so the concept here is media presence, media training, and recognizing this as live TV and not a phone call. And that means that you got to look at that little green dot, not so much at each other.
Yeah.
But it depends on how we position this thing. You know, I can move it around and up and down. And but as long as I don't have to read anything, then I can look right at you. But a lot of people find that annoying, you know, having to learn that kind of an approach and being camera ready. And so the effectiveness of this kind of two-way communication, collapsing time, collapsing everything, and enlarging cross-cultural communications, it's creating its own world of challenges. I'm sure you're
Yeah.
seeing that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, as you mentioned at the top there, you know, the blended approach to these things of having people in the room as well and having people kind of zoom in or beam in or you know, blue jeans in or whatever they're doing to get there. But also the accessibility it gives to people to ask questions to people they would never have ordinarily had the opportunity to ask questions to. You know, and it can be governmental people or senior executives or whoever, you know, celebrities. You know, it's become, you know, very much more accessible to be able to ask those kind of questions.
A leveling of the playing field with the chat capability as well as just saying, I've got a question.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you can see, you know, there's almost like whispering in the back of the room with the chat kind of going on, but people are able to multitask more in that way. And of course, attention spans start to become a little bit challenged unless you are really focused on that green dot,
I know,
as you say,
right.
you know. But I think, you know, it's really exciting to see that and being able to interact in that way. And some of the things that pass through my kind of email and messaging and things, I kind of think, right, I'm going to jump on that one. I'm going to listen to that one, or I'll watch that one on demand. I want to participate in that one. And I am learning so much kind of right now. That's a great opportunity in that kind of environment to be selective. And the challenge is, I think, Ed, and you'll probably see this as you run these blended events, it's kind of what I think it was Amy Edmondson kind of has been doing some work on, you know, asking questions within an organization and using judgment. You know, is the question at the right time and is it constructive, or is it absolutely the wrong time and off topic or potentially destructive in helping, you know, come to a decision. I mean, that's normally in group settings, but I think it's a fascinating thing in terms of a new skill people have to learn when they're getting access to this medium of being able to, you know, use their judgment. I want to ask that question, but what is it, that question? Is it going to help on topic, or is it going to expose something that is not so good, or it's coming from the wrong kind of place of wrong motivation? So, you know, but the control is always with the person who's looking at the green dot to ask the question, you know.
Well, thank you for being my special guest on Global TV Talk Show. I welcome you to come back and just give us updates or participate in a larger exchange. Before we jump off, Chris Litherland, do you want to make a statement about any of your product discoveries or adaptations as a result of this lockdown period?
Yeah, I think, you know, the key thing I'm seeing, particularly with working with, you know, businesses on the business advisory front and coaching and mentoring, is they're looking at what next for them as kind of leaders and what next for their organization. And what I can see kind of happening now is on a kind of a number of different fronts, but essentially, you know, looking at the role of leadership And I'll say there's almost a point we're reaching, Ed, where we're going to see a divergence. So I think you'll see command and control coming in big time coming out of the pandemic, because people are looking for more security, looking for leadership to do what leaders they think are going to do, which is take decisions, take them quickly and stand by them. But in a very much more, it's going to reinforce command and control. And then a polar opposite is going to be, much more about adaptive intelligence and about, helping people within an organization, the servant leadership kind of style, kind of coming through, and helping the organization, as a collective move forward, which means leaders are taking on much more of a role of, instead of monitoring what employers are doing, they're monitoring what's happening in the environment. They're monitoring and being much more balanced in, using data, using logic, using an emotion and context for making decisions, and then checking that and rechecking it and not being in a fixed position. So I think we're going to see leadership going through, either a divergence, or we'll see these polar opposites start to play out in the near future as we come out of the pandemic.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that. And let's take one of those, if not more than one, and make a talk show about that. And let's bring in an example, if you would like to do that someday.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We can get into that. And ethics is going to play a big role in that, of course, Ed. And we've seen, during the pandemic, how, we've exposed some of the weaknesses in our system, and how ethical behavior has really played either a very positive role or a negative role within organizations, and also the wider stakeholder kind of environment. So it will include that piece as well, hopefully. Yeah.
So the
more
ethics,
than happy to do that.
Yeah. So the ethics idea, that relates to the employer brand, doesn't it? Especially if they're attracting that kind of talent.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, the impact of the pandemic, it's accelerated things, not just the use of technology, but it's moved people to digital, consumer businesses moving to online. The corner shop down the road has had to go online because they were shut, but they still wanted to sell and they could still have people picking things up. So it's moved quickly. And I think, organization culture is going to be effective. If more people are working from home and not coming together in those symbols and those rituals inside an organization, in the buildings, then it will have an effect on organization culture. How that is sustained will depend on the organization and how quickly people kind of come back again. And then one other thing, Ed, which I've seen and I've been talking to some leaders about, is this thing I called passive acceptance. If you're in a world of uncertainty and you've got that continued pressure playing on you, whether it's information overload or, always on working, particularly if you're working from home, when do you stop, and you never stop, but, that kind of pressure, as you come out of the pandemic, people are still waiting for some clarity. So I think leaders need to kind of take that initiative in terms of building, easy wins, little steps, building positive momentum. Can't even say the word momentum, to help people out of that kind of behavior that is there, and not through command and control, because I think passiveness, it will yearn for command and control. Tell me what I need to do. Tell me what I need to do. And I think that's where we're going to see that divergence kind of clicking in.
Right. And the people who are better equipped to handle ambiguity and being creative, especially in an atmosphere where there's no wrong answer, everything, let's try it, see if it works.
Yeah, very good point there, Ed. Very good. That ambiguity is, and being ambidextrous in your thinking is going to be key.
Thank you, Chris Litherland. And what is your website, or is there a website, or would you prefer people just to go to your LinkedIn page?
Yeah, so there's a couple of places they can go, Ed. One is LinkedIn, so they can find me under Chris Litherland. And I've got my company webpage also on LinkedIn, which is Mariposa Consulting International. Really happy to have people kind of connecting with me or following me or following Mariposa, kind of regularly doing kind of posts and things or sharing articles and thoughts. If anybody's interested in coaching, mentoring, or the business advisory piece or consulting, just reach out to me via LinkedIn, and I'll kind of get back to them really, really quickly. Happy to share any information with people. Very open innovation kind of style and collaboration style that I have, Ed. As you know.
Yes. You know. Yeah, well, you're a treasure. Thanks, Chris Litherland, for being on Global TV Talk Show. We're signing off from Dusseldorf, Germany, and San Diego, California, and Las Vegas. Take care.
Take care, Ed. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.